This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends. So in this business intelligence master program, this is our seventh session. In this session, we will see how you can copy data from blob storage to the blob storage. Okay, so this is our first pipeline we are going to create in our Azure Data Factory. So in this particular session, what we are going to learn, we will see so how you can create the containers inside your blob storage and what is the structure of that containers. Yesterday we have seen, but today as we are going to do the practical, so I want to show you once again. So I have added that particular slide. Then we are going to see CSV file overview, because there are few people, like there are some students, those people may not be knowing like what is CSV file. Even for the people who are working in other domain, they may not know what is CSV file and how many different ways you can create the CSV file. So I will just give you some overview on the CSV file, because in today example, when we are moving the data, when we are moving the file from blob storage to blob storage, what file I'm moving is I'm going to move a CSV file. I'm going to move CSV file. Next. So we are going to see data flow diagram, how you are going to move the data from blob storage to blob storage. For that, I have a data flow diagram. I will show you that. Then we will see estimations. So estimations is basically, let's say you are trying to move the data from blob to blob, how many linked service you need, how many data sets you need. Okay, how you will decide you need these many linked services, you need these many data sets. So those estimations we will do. Then we will see debugging functionality in Azure Data Factory. What happens is when you created your pipeline, you need to run your pipeline, right? So for running your pipeline, you have two ways. One is called debugging, another one is called trigger. So what is the difference between these two, we will discuss, but we will completely focus on the debugging. Triggers concept, it's a little bit huge concept, so we need to discuss in detail in the upcoming sessions. Next, prerequisites. So we are going to see what you need if you want to understand today's session. I will just discuss those prerequisites. Then we will discuss required resources. If you want to copy data from blob storage to blob storage by using Azure Data Factory, what all resources we need to create from the portal, that we will discuss. Then we will see naming conventions, because this is also one of the very important thing to identify a resource quickly. You need to follow the naming conventions. So we will follow some naming conventions. With respect to demo, today we will see how you can create the storage account, how you can upload file into the storage account. Then once we have file in the storage account, we know, right, we can create the Azure Data Factory v2. Then we can create the linked service for blob storage using integration runtime. So now I am talking about blob to blob. Both are in cloud or on premise. Both are in cloud. Can anybody tell me what kind of integration runtime we need to use to move the data from blob to blob?
Azure.
Very good. So we are going to use the Azure integration runtime. Next, create source data reference. So if you remember, we need to get, so what I'm going to do in my storage, I will create two containers. One container name is called the input, another container name is called the output. So I need to read data from input container and load it into the output container. Okay, so here my reference points are two different reference points. My source reference is input, my target reference is output. So now how many data sets I need to create is, I need to create two data sets, one for my source reference, one for my target reference. Just click, see now, source data reference and the sync data reference you need to create. It's nothing but a source data set and the sync data set we need to create. Next, you need to create a pipeline. Okay, we know, right? So we need to create a pipeline. Inside pipeline, you are going to use a copy activity. Okay, fine. So once you created pipeline, what you need to do, as I said, you need to run this particular pipeline. You need to execute this particular pipeline. How you can execute your pipeline is, there are two ways. One is debug pipeline, second one is run pipeline. So we will see these two ways to execute the pipeline. Then how to monitor the pipeline execution. Suppose I want to understand whether pipeline is succeeded or not, how many records it's copied, or how many files it copied, how much time it took, when execution started, from where to where data moved. So all that information I want to monitor. So where we can monitor this particular pipeline execution we are going to see. Okay, this is the content we are going to discuss today. Let's start with our first one is, Azure Blob Storage container, right? So you'll have an account. First, you'll create the Azure Storage account. Once you create Azure Storage account, in that you can create the containers. Okay, in this container you are going to upload your files. So here you have like images and movies, but you can also upload your normal files. It can be any format files you can able to upload. And what is this metadata? Metadata will tell you, so this particular files is available in what type of blob, whether it is available in a blob or page blob or append blob. So where exactly data is located. So that particular metadata information will have. Okay, we talked about this particular slide yesterday. Just to give you some idea, I just included this slide in today's session. Fine. So CSV file overview. Anybody know CSV? See, CSV is nothing but a comma separated value. CSV. Okay, comma separated values file is a delimited text file that uses a comma to separate values. Example, I am entering my details. Example, my name is Malaya and I am from something good. You can say Andhra. Then you can give my phone number is 8904424822. So something like that. I am going to provide my name, my location, my phone number. These are the three records. Okay, sorry, these are not three records. This is three attributes. These are the different information I'm giving. I'm just including in the CSV file. When you are providing these details, when you are entering these details in a file, you can use comma separated, or you can use a pipe separated, or you can use a question mark, or you can use tab separated. You can use any separated value, but the default separated value is comma. That's why the file name is comma separated value. Comma separated value file is a delimited text. What is delimiter? Delimiter is nothing but a separator. It's a separator text file that uses a comma to separate the values. My name, it will separate with comma, then like name, comma, then it will give location, comma, phone number. So each value you are separating with the comma. Okay, next. So each line of the file is a data record. So first time, like first record will be there, my record. Okay, next time maybe I will enter a Murli record. Okay, so you can say name is Murli and is from let's say Bangalore, and his phone number, something I will enter. Okay, something like that. His record is second record, my record is first record. Okay, so likewise each record will be separated with, like each record will be separated with a new line, but in each line, in each record or each line, the data or values will be separated with comma. Okay, each line of the file is a data record. Each record consists of one or more fields. All these fields are separated by commas. Okay, so separator can be a comma or pipe or a tab. So example, you see here employee ID, last name, first name, and birthday date, right? So you see here is employee ID, then comma, is last name, first name. See, between all these values, you maintain the comma. Okay, between all these values, you maintain the comma. Okay, now it no need to be a comma, it can be a pipe. See here, so name, company, email, password, just they are using something like pipe here. Okay, they can also use a tab, they can use anything. Okay, now you can use double pipe, double comma, anything you can use, friends, as a separator. By default, if you are not considering, okay, by default, if you are saving any file as a CSV, the default separator or delimiter is comma. If you want to explicitly mention my separator or delimiter should be like separator or delimiter should be pipe, then you have to mention explicitly. Okay, see, don't confuse between separator and delimiter, both are same. Okay, here separator is comma, here separator is pipe. Any questions here? Because some of you may not know this CSV file. Everybody's fine. Can you ping in chat window, friends? Fine. Let me move on. So copy data from blob to blob. See, let's imagine. So I have a blob storage. In this blob storage, I have an input container. In this input container, I will place a file called cust.csv. Okay, so this particular cust.csv, I want to move it into a same blob storage. In same blob storage, I have a container called output container. So in this container, I want to load the data. So first thing that we need to do is we need to create the linked service. Okay, what is linked service? Linked service is nothing but a connection string. Okay, I need to I should be able to connect to the blob storage in order to access the data from the storage. That's why I need to create a linked service. Okay, I created the linked service. Then what I will do? I will create the data set. Okay, so this is input data set. What this input data set will do? Input data set will read the data from the input container. So I am reading data from this input container, and so if my data set is referring to input container and creating a data set, that is nothing but an input data set. Okay, now this input data set, what you want to do, you need to tell. So I want to copy this particular data, then you need to use a task called copy activity task. You need to add to your pipeline. Then this particular input data set, you are actually referring to the input container. Okay, now what happens is, in input container, if you have one file, it will read one file. If you have multiple files, it will read multiple files. Now what you want to do is, you want to load this data into output. So you need to create another output reference point. That is nothing but an output data set you need to create. So even one thing you need to understand, if you want to create an output data set reference, you need to connect to the this particular blob storage. Okay, that's why again I need to create a linked service. I need to create a linked service again. Okay, clear friends? So now if you see here, I have created a linked service. I have created some data sets. I have used the activity. Now who is going to do all these things? Okay, so see, once I created the linked service, I'm going to place my output file into the output container, that is cust.csv, which I received from input. That particular file I will place it in my output container. Now I need to, who is going to do this particular thing? IR is going to do. What type of IR we are going to use here? We are going to use a Azure Integration Runtime. Okay, so where we are going to do all these things, we are going to do within the Azure Data Factory. Okay, I hope everybody is clear on this, right? Any questions, friends, here? Right. So now you see estimations. So can you tell me? See, my in today lab, I am going to use single blob storage. I am going to use single blob storage. In a single blob storage, I will maintain two containers, input container and output container. I am going to read data from input container and I will load data into the output container. Now my question is, how many linked services I need to create? So I need answer from everybody.
Two.
Very good, Nagaraj. Two. Good, Manohar.
Two
One.
linked services.
See, just to give your answers, friends. Sri Ram 2, Nagaraj 2, Bharat 1, Parmesh 2, Ratan
2, sir.
Okay. So very good. So everybody is saying 2, 2, 2. Now my simple question is, okay, so I want to transfer money to two people. Okay, so I have only one account. Okay, I have only one account. I need to transfer money to two people. Now, first time I logged in and I will transfer to first person. Then do I need to log in again to transfer a money to second person? No, right? So once you log in, you can transfer money to first person, you can transfer money to second person. In the same way, let's take another example. Once you log in into your mobile, suppose you are using Share It to share some images between your friend mobile and your phone. Okay, let's say I'm sharing some image between like Sudhir Reddy and me. Okay, I'm sharing some image to Sudhir Reddy. Now, once Sudhir Reddy logged in into the mobile, what he can do is, he can only one time he will just enter his password, security password. Okay, after that what he's going to do is, he will just, if you want to yellow the image which I am sharing, he will just yellow. Okay, if you want to deny, he can deny. If we want to share, he can share the that image to image with me as well. But how many times he is entering the password, that pin? He is going to enter only one time. In the same way, when you are connecting to the same storage from Azure Data Factory. So connection testing, right? So I said my input, output both are in same storage, meaning you no need to have a two connections, because anyhow you can create, there is no issue, you are not going to get any error, but that is not required, I'm saying, because whether you are connecting twice, you are connecting one time, doesn't matter, only you are connecting to same storage. Why we are creating two data sets? Because we have a two different reference points. We are pointing to our input data set is referring to another folder, our output data set is referring to another folder. That's why we need to create two data sets, but we can have only one linked service. See now, here answer is for each storage, one linked service is required in Azure Data Factory V2. One linked service is required. But can we maintain multiple linked services? Yes, you can maintain the multiple linked services, no issue. But one is enough. Okay, fine. Next, how many data sets we need? So as I said, my input is in a different folder. I want to load my output in a different folder. So I am referring to two different locations, meaning two different references I need to create. It's nothing but two data sets I need to create. Input data set, output data set. Okay, you see here, depends on the reference points, we need to create data sets. For input container, one data set, and for output container, one data set. Total two data sets we need to create. Clear? Okay, next. How many copy activities? We know, so remember, even though when you are copying multiple tables, we are not going to use multiple copy activities. We are going to use a single copy activity. For that copy activity, we will pass the details dynamically, one by one table name we will pass. Those things we will see in the upcoming session. But remember, we are going to use only one copy activity is required to copy data from blob to blob. Okay, next. How many pipelines? So one pipeline is enough. Okay. What type of fire we need to use to copy data from blob to blob? I hope everybody know by now. So you people answer correctly. Okay. So Azure Integration Runtime. Okay. So these are the estimations you need to have. So only one linked service. We are going to create two data sets, one copy activity, one pipeline, and we are going to use the Azure Integration Runtime. Any questions here? So if you have any doubt, please let me know here, because these estimations are very, very important. So if you know this, we can easily able to build the pipeline. Everybody's fine. So I know few people like they have taken training from some somewhere else. So you have some knowledge. Okay. So please don't answer your questions directly in a directly to everybody. So just paste your questions to me in private, because if you answer correctly, people will confuse because they are in a different thinking. And as you have answered, let's say all people who ever attended my training only in this batch, they are thinking two linked services. But whoever has some knowledge, some people are able to grasp it immediately, but some people said only one, right? So you people know these things. Please ping in private mode, okay, so that other people will not see the answer and they won't confuse. So self-hosted IR means what, Sriram? It's maintained by, we need to maintain that. Okay, we can use that, but only the problem is we need to maintain that. Why you need to do that? So you can use self-hosted IR to do this. It's not mandatory, but what I'm saying is Azure Integration Runtime, if you use the hardware and infrastructure, everything will be maintained by Microsoft. Security, patching, everything they will take care, maintenance, everything they will take care. So we no need to worry. So wherever Azure Integration Runtime we can use, we need to go with the Azure Integration Runtime. Okay. So, but here I am going with the auto resolve integration runtime. That is the default integration runtime. So we talked about the main features of the auto resolve integration runtime. It will resolve the region automatically. It depends on your sync. Yeah, good question, Nagraj. So if I want to send a data between two different blob storage, I have storage 1, I have storage 2. I want to move data from storage 1 to the storage 2. Both are different. Then you need to create two linked services. we need to create a 2 linked services. Okay, clear, Nagraj? Fine. Now I hope everybody is clear. Let's see. Debugging functionality you need to see. This is very important in terms of development. So this particular debugging functionality we are going to use very frequently. Okay, every day you will use this debug functionality. So it is very important. Okay, we can execute pipelines in 2 ways. As I said, one is debug mode. Second one is trigger. Trigger is nothing but if you want to automate your pipeline. Okay, if you want to run your pipeline based on events, some events happened, example when new file uploaded, when file deleted. So in all these cases we are going to use triggers. Okay, these triggers will work once you publish, once you save all the changes that you have made in your pipeline. But there is another option called debug. This debug will work without saving your changes. Okay, it will identify all the changes without saving. You just make the change and click debug. Whatever changes you have made, with those changes it will execute your pipeline. See, ADF debug functionality allows testing pipeline without publishing changes. You no need to publish changes, you no need to save these changes. Without saving these changes, you can able to test your pipeline whether your pipeline is working or not. So next, can anybody try to answer what is pipeline? Can you tell me what is pipeline? Pipeline can have one activity or can we have multiple activities? Please speak out.
Pipeline will have multiple activities.
Very good.
Can
So,
run.
very good, friends. Pipeline can have a multiple activities. Now, my requirement is as part of development, I want to execute and test only first 2 activities. I have total 5 activities, but I want to test first 2 activities to understand whether data is correctly coming into the second activity or not. Okay, for that I want to execute only first 2 activities. I don't want to execute all the activities. In that case, you can create something called breakpoints. Okay, see, this debug functionality also allows setting breakpoints on activities which would ensure partial pipeline execution. So only some part of the pipeline will execute. Only few activities in pipeline will execute. Okay, clear? Next, run history will not be available. Suppose you ran you debugged this particular pipeline, it will execute that pipeline, and the details about that particular execution will not be saved permanently. Those will not be available after you run the second time. Okay, suppose I debugged second time, my first debug details you will not be able to see. Okay, I think Microsoft is adding this particular functionality where they are trying to add the debug history as well. I think we will be able to see, okay, that particular thing also in the very soon. I think that is already in preview mode or something, so we will see those things as well. One more question I received: the copy activity is always be one or even from on-premise to cloud or blob to cloud, right? Yes, Parmesh, only one copy activity we will use, but tables and files we are going to pass dynamically to our copy activity. Okay, when we have more files or when we have more tables, we are going to pass these things one by one. Like we are going to pass these file names, table names one by one to the same copy activity. Okay, fine. I hope everything is clear till here. Next example, in a pipeline, if we have a copy activity, then stored procedure activity, we need to test my copy activity with executing stored procedure activity. Okay, sorry, without executing stored procedure activity. Okay, then we need to create a breakpoint on copy activity to control execution of stored procedure. Okay, if you don't want to execute stored procedure, what you need to do? You need to create a breakpoint on the copy activity. That I will show you. Okay, don't worry. Okay, next, prerequisites. We know, so you should know what is storage account and how to create it. Then what is Azure Data Factory, you should know. What is integration runtime and types, you should know. And what type of integration runtime we need to use, this particular requirement you should have that knowledge. Then you should have knowledge on what is linked service, what is data set, okay, what is activity, what is pipeline. Okay, we discussed about all these things. You have some knowledge on all of these. Okay, now required resources for this particular lab is we are going to understand what is storage account, like how to create the storage account and how to create the Azure Data Factory V2. Okay, so how to create storage account, and so these two resources we are going to see, storage account and the ADF V2. Okay, clear? Let me move on. Naming convention. So in naming convention, you see here, friend. So it's basically data factory. You remember one thing: data factory names is a case insensitive. Example, you see here my df and my df. Here M and df is capital. Here M and df is small letter, but both are considered as the same. Okay, that is one thing. Second point is data factory name is globally unique. Example, suppose Parmesh has created a data factory name saying that Parmesh ADF. Now, if I try to use same name Parmesh ADF, I will not be able to create the data factory. It is not possible. So it's a globally unique. Somebody else uses that name. I cannot use same name in my data factory. Okay, next. This data factory name must start with a letter or a number. It can start with a letter or number and can contain only letters and numbers and the dash character. Okay, you have something called hyphen character. Okay, even dash character must be immediately preceded and followed by a letter or number. What it means is you cannot say Cloud Pandit hyphen. After hyphen, after dash, you must have something else. Example, Cloud Pandit hyphen ADF or Cloud Pandit -1, some number or letter must be there after dash. Okay, and the name can be at least 3 to 63 characters long. Okay, remember. Next, with respect to the linked service data sets, pipeline, data flows, you need to follow this. These names also unique within the data factory. Data factory is globally unique, and these names are unique within the data factory. Within the data factory, I cannot create a linked service, two linked services with same name. Example, ls linked service underscore blob. Okay, so with the same name, I cannot create another linked service, but ls underscore blob, with this name, I have created a linked service in my account, in my data factory. Same name Parmesh can use in his data factory, because his data factory is different, my data factory is different. So these services like a linked service name, data set, pipeline, data flow names are unique within the data factory. Okay, object names must start with a letter. These names must start with a letter, not a number. The following characters are not allowed. So all these special characters are not allowed. Dash is also not allowed in the names of a linked service, data flows and data set. What allowed is underscore is allowed. See, underscore is allowed. That's why it is not here. Okay, hyphen is not allowed, but underscore is allowed here. Okay, I hope you are clear, right? Now, naming convention. See, when you are creating example linked service or data set for your blob storage, you need to give something like this. Here you see ls is nothing but a linked service, Azure Blob Storage ABS, data set DS, Azure Blob Storage. So I am creating a like data set for Azure Blob Storage. Next, Azure Data Lake Storage we have. Then you have to say ls underscore Azure Data Lake Storage, DS underscore Azure Data Lake Storage. DS is nothing but a data set, ls is nothing but a linked service for Azure Data Lake Storage, DS data set for Azure Data Lake Storage. Next, Azure SQL DB. You need to say here like Azure SQL DB means you see linked service for Azure SQL, data set for Azure SQL. Okay, SQL data warehouse Azure SDW. Okay, linked service for Azure SQL DW. SQL data warehouse, it's nothing but. Okay, if you have on-premise things, ls underscore SQL, ls underscore Oracle, something like this, because it's not Azure, right? So that's why A is not coming in front of these things. Okay, this is how you need to get the naming convention for your linked services and data sets. Next, pipeline. So with respect to pipeline, if the pipeline is data movement, you have to start with PL underscore data. Example, you are copying data from data set called SQL to maybe Azure Blob Storage. Then you have to say PL pipeline for data movement. Then you have to say data. So from which data set? DS underscore SQL underscore person. So this is the data set I am moving to this data set, meaning from SQL to blob I am moving the data. What data? Person data. In the same way, when you are doing the data transformation, PL you need to create. It's nothing but a pipeline, PL underscore trans. Okay, trans is nothing but transformation, PL underscore trans, and you have to say other, like whether you are applying any cleaning on the dimension table, whether you are just doing the transformation on any table, or data quality checks you are doing, or you are executing data quality framework or something. You just have to give the names as per that particular requirement. Okay, any doubts in this? Okay, fine. Okay, so that's all we have, friend. Okay, any questions? I hope everybody's clear, right? Let's go and do the demo. Now, let's say, okay, this is my Azure account. Okay, we discussed about Azure account. Now, because I don't want to waste the time, let's quickly do the demo. What we will do, let me open it, two different tabs here. So remember, how many resources is required for today lab? Can you check? Can you tell me, friends, how many resources are required for today lab? You see, Azure storage and the data factory V2. So what I need to do, portal.azure.com. So I'm going to open my portal in two different tabs. Okay, you will come to know why I am opening two different tabs. The reason is very simple. Let's say if I created both the services from same tab, if I want to open data factory again, I need to search for data factory, click on that, go inside data factory, all those things I need to do. If I suddenly I have forgot to do something in storage, again from data factory to you need to move to the storage. So everything, if you do it from single tab, you need to move between the storages. It will take more time. That's why to maintain the storage, you maintain a separate tab. To view your data factory, maintain a separate tab. Okay. So as I need two resources, I have opened two different tabs. In these two different tabs, I opened my Azure portal. Now, first thing I want to create is, I want to create a, we need to have a resource group. A resource group is nothing but a logical grouping of the services. It will logically group your resources into a container. Okay, let's do. First thing is, let me on the fly you can create the resource group. That's why what I can do is, let's create a storage account. Click on storage account. Let's click add to create the storage account. So we talked about storage account, different options. Okay, free trial, we are using subscription is free trial. I want to create a resource group. This is Cloud Pandit BI Master Program. Okay, click OK. Then storage account name. So storage account name, how you have to give is, you need to tell for what business. Example, this storage account is basically for the Cloud Pandit. Okay, you have to say Cloud Pandit. You can say Cloud Pandit, what kind of data we want to put. We want to put Cloud Pandit cust. Okay, Cloud Pandit cust data I want to put in this particular storage. In which region you want, in which data center, I want to put it in East to West, let it be. And we talked about standard and premium. Premium means SSD, standard means HDDs, and we have a different options available. So let's select storage V2. If you remember, yesterday we selected blob storage, we got only blob storage. Let's go with storage V2 today, and we talked about all these options which we have available, right? So some of them are preview, but that preview mode is gone. But we did talked about this redundancy, okay, replication factors. Now this networking, all those things you don't need to much worry, because you can leave them blank. Okay, so these are with respect to some data protection. Somebody is deleted something, or if you want to recovery something which is deleted accidentally, okay, you can set up few things here. Next, advanced. Okay, with respect to security, whether you want to enable the security or not. See, security is already enabled. Okay, so all other things, like you can able to enable the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, we talked about yesterday, right? So when you select a version 2, you can also enable the Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Okay, so but currently we are not focusing on the Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Instead of that, we are focusing on the blob storage. That's why I'm disabling this. If you enable this, only this is the change that you need to make to create the Data Lake Storage Gen 2. But I'm disabled. If you disable, it will create the blob storage. Click tags. So here you need to provide some kind of a key value page. So you can say created by something Cloud Pandit, Okay, some kind of a tags you can put here. So let's say this storage is you can say team, which team is accessing this data. Let's say data engineer team is working or accessing this data. Something tags, if you want to use something, you can use. Okay, otherwise you don't need to provide that. This is not mandatory things. Okay? Then click review plus create. Running final validation. So click create. So next thing you need to understand, we have two different teams in real time. One is infra team or admin team. Second one is development team. Who is going to take care of creating, providing the access, okay, and setting the network, all those things is you will have infra team or admin team. They will set up everything for us. As a developer, storage will be available. You just have to move the data between containers, or you need to move the data between data store. Okay, something. So your data like your blob storage is creating here. Let's come here and let's create a data factory. Click on data factories. Click add to create the data factories. So pre-trial we are using resource group is this is the resource group which we have created, and I want to launch it in region or east to west 2, and I think Manohar or somebody asked my storage in east to west 2. Can I create a data factory in east to west? Yes, it is possible. You can create and you can move the data, but mostly we suggest you to go with the east to west 2. Okay. Next, what is the reason why we are allowing? Because person is available in US, and the person has to do work in India. It will be difficult for him to do remotely, right? So if you allow him to come to India and work, it will be more efficient. So in the same way, it is exactly same. What you need to do is, yeah, data factory also created by infra team only. All the services. So when I say created and granted permissions with respect to all the resources, not only storage. Okay. Okay, I hope you are clear, right? So you need to allow data factory also in same region. If you put your data factory also in same region where you have data, it will act efficiently. It work efficiently. Now, so data factory names we already understood, right? So data factory name, it's a globally unique. You need to say Cloud Pandit ADF V2. I'm giving my like data factory name is Cloud Pandit ADF V2. So this particular Cloud Pandit is creating this ADF V2 in East US region with free trial in this resource group. Which version of ADF V2 only, because V1 is no longer available. Git configuration. So Git configuration, basically when you create a pipeline, basically you are going to use UiPath to create the pipeline. Okay, code will be generated in backend. That code, if you want to put it in the repositories, automatically you can select whether you want to put that code in a Azure DevOps repository or you want to put that code in a GitHub repository. So you can select these things, but in first session I don't want to confuse you. That's why let's go that configure Git later. I want to configure this particular option later. What it means is your code will not move to anywhere. Your code will be there within the data factory. Networking, don't worry, leave it blank. Okay, default values and tags we just discussed. If you want to give some kind of values, you can give created by, I can say Cloud Pandit and the team is working something, data engineer. I want to give few details I have given. Okay, then click review plus create. Running final validation. So once validation passed, you can create this particular data factory. See here, submitted deployment, your data factory will be ready within a minute. It will not take more than a minute. Okay. Now let's go back to storage account. Okay, go to resource. I'm going into the resource. If you remember, I created a V2. V2 means you see a container, file share, tables, queue scheme. Container is nothing but a blob storage. Okay, we need to go to insert container. Okay. So here, as we discussed, I'm going to create a container. I have an account. In that account, I'm going to create two containers. One container called input, created. Okay. Another container called output. Okay, so you see when you select this container, the public access level is it's a private. If you want to change the access level, you can click on this and you can change at any time. Okay, or when you are creating container itself, you can change the permission here. Okay. Discard. Now I have an input container and output container. Let's go inside input container. Let's upload a file here. Yeah, comma separated values. Let's go with comma separated value. The file name I will, let's say, I said cust, right? So that's why what I wanted to do is I will say cust. Okay, file name I change it to cust because I explained in the slides cust.csv file I will upload. So I'm uploading cust.csv file. I will show you the data because we can view the data from here itself. Close this. See, I am inside input container. I have uploaded the file. Just click on this file to view the data which is there inside it. Click edit. You see the data which you have here. See player ID, player name, player highest score, number of matches. You see one Kohli, second one is ADB, save, search, and so some scores, some players information I am maintaining here. Okay, so these are the some details I have. This particular information, okay, this particular data I want to move it into my output container. Okay, I want to move it into the output container. See, in output container you don't have any data. Okay, clear? Now go to data factory. I hope everybody is clear what I have done in the storage account. Can you give quick confirmation, friends? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So you are clear, right? So we are like reading data from input folder and writing data into the output container. So that is what we need to do. Now everything is fine here. In input container we uploaded the data, and the output container we need to load the data. Okay, now come to data factory. So how you can open data factory is just click on go to resource, click on author and monitor. Okay, so here we have a template. So directly if you want to quickly copy data, just click on copy data. It will give you some kind of a template. So from where, okay, so just you have to say run once. You want to run once or regularly you want to run based on the schedule, you can immediately schedule. You want normal schedule or tumbling into schedule, we will discuss about that. But this is a kind of a template. Click next. Okay, it will give from which source you want to connect and what kind of connection, what data you want to read. All these are the kind of a templates. Okay, we will discuss about these things also in some time, but this in real time we won't use these kind of templates. Okay, for learning or simply when you have some requirement quickly you want to move data, you can try with this template. But in real time we will go with the normal pipeline. We will create all pipelines from the scratch, okay, without using this template. Now first thing is let's go to, so we know here we will have a like templates. Second tab is called a author tab. In this author tab what we will have is we will have pipelines, data sets, data flows. We will have pipelines, data set and data flow. This tab is called a monitor tab. This tab is called monitor tab, where we can monitor your pipelines. Okay, if you have created any schedules you can able to see those schedules. Okay, schedule runs. Suppose if you ran any pipeline with schedules, automation pipelines and all those things, you can able to check it here. Okay, and integration runtimes, you can able to see the integration runtimes. So this is the only integration runtime we have. You can see self-hosted. We have any self-hosted? No. We have Azure type S. Azure type S auto resolve. Azure SSIS, you don't have anything. You can able to see all those things. Data flow debug. Do you have any data flow cluster is created here? No. Okay, leave that. Now if you want to create any alerts, you can able to create those alerts here. Now come to manage tab. So in this manage tab, you can see linked service. If you want to create a connection to any service, you can create linked service. Integration ante same thing. Okay, if you want to create any new linked service, you can click new and you can create it. Okay. Git configuration, we talked about moving our code directly into the repos, right? You can click on this Git configuration and you can configure it. If you want to set up code repository now, you can set up. If you want to create a new schedule, I want to run pipeline. As of today, it is running at 4 a.m. IST. Now, from today, I want to run at 6 a.m. IST. You want to create new trigger, you can create it. You want to create something called variable parameters. Okay, some parameters. If you want to create, you can able to create that parameter here. These parameters will be available for all the pipelines. You will have two types of parameters: global parameter and pipeline parameter. So we will talk about that later. But global parameter will be available to all the pipeline. Okay, now let's focus on linked service. First one. How many linked services we need to create? Only one, we said, right? So let's say click new, Azure Blob Storage. So I need to connect to the Azure Blob Storage. I know you can search it if it is not available here. You can simply say Blob Storage. You can search here, you will get it. Click continue. So we talked about how to create the linked service. LS is the naming convention, linked service for Azure Blob Storage, ABS. Okay, so we know I want to connect via integration, and you can say here connecting to some description. Okay, it's not mandatory, but if you want to give something, you can give connecting to ATB Azure Blob Storage, ABS, Azure Blob Storage. Now through by using which integration runtime, we know auto resolve integration runtime we are using. Clear, friends? And you have a different ways to connect, like you can authenticate by using a different ways. One is account key. We have SaaS, shared access signature, service principal. You need to create something called app registration, manage the identity. Automatically, you can grant the permissions. Okay. Now account key. I want to go with the account key for today. Next, we have something called Azure keyword. Basically, what happens is all the passwords you are going to hardcode in the linked service, that is not recommended in real time. You need to pass this particular username passwords through the keyword. Keyword is a managed service which will manage all your credentials, and it will keep all your username and passwords in an encrypted format so that nobody can able to take your username and password. Now, so you want to identify, you want to connect to a particular storage. So this storage is available in which subscription? That is available in my free trial subscription. Let's list down here. This is the storage cloud Pandit customer. Okay, this is the storage. Let's test the connection. Okay, connection successful. Okay, next, if you have any additional parameters, you can be able to add those additional parameters here, some kind of a key value paste if you have, and you can test the connection from here, or you can refer any file. Annotations basically to provide some kind of a filtering. When you are filtering the linked services or data sets, you have a multiple linked service. Basically, I want to identify development environment, or I want to identify data engineering linked services, something like that. You are going to identify them based on this particular tag. You need to provide some kind of a annotations. Okay, so based on these annotations, we can able to filter them. Okay, but don't worry about all this unnecessary stuff. So we need to focus mainly on, you just provide the name for your linked service and use the account key. So under this particular subscription, I have this storage account. To this storage account, I want to connect. Let's test the connection. Connection is successful. You can click create it. Remember, your linked services will be published, will be saved automatically. Okay, your linked services will be published automatically. Okay, clear. Now, so let's say there are few people said we are going to create two linked services. Fine. Let's click new to create a new linked services. But what details you are going to provide again? Same thing, right? You just maybe you cannot use same name. You are going to use another name, but account key you will use same subscription, same account. So you will test the connection. Connection will be successful. You create it. What is the use of having two linked services? So we don't have any use even if you created a multiple linked services. That's why what we are going to do, we will create only one linked service. Everybody's clear? Friends, please respond because less time.
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's come to author tab. So in this author tab, we need to create a data set. So let's click create new data set. So data set is nothing but what? Reference point. We need to refer the data. How you will refer data? So where your data is available in blob storage. So select Azure blob storage, click continue. And in which format you have data. So we discussed about CSV. So let's select CSV, click continue. And here you have to see a data set for Azure blob storage. Here I am just reading the customer data. So that's why you need to say data set for Azure blob storage, and I am reading the customer data, and this is basically customer input data set. You need to say DS data set from Azure blob storage. I am like reading the customer data, and this is going to be my source. Source is nothing but you can call it as a something input, or you can say it as a source. Okay, fine. Now if you want to see the data which you have in the storage, first you need to connect it to the storage. Have you connected to the storage? Yes, we connected to the storage by using linked service, just to provide that particular reference. Okay, this is the linked service. This is my connection. Just to give that connection, immediately it will show file path. Just click browse to browse into your storage. So you see here in your storage you have input container and output container. Go inside input container. So this is the file you have, cust.csv. Select that cust.csv. Clear? This is my container. In that container I have a file called cust.csv. Okay. Now remember, by default, not only in Azure Data Factory, when we discussed about Spark also, this is important. Whenever you are reading or writing the CSV files, you need to explicitly say that you have headers in the file. If you say that you have headers in the file, your first row will be considered as a header. Otherwise, what happens is it will think that you don't have any headers in the file. It will add the default headers. Okay, it will add the default headers, and it will take your headers into the data. It will put your headers in the data because it will think that you don't have any headers. Okay, how you will say you have headers in the file is you need to check this particular option. Okay, first row as header. You are saying my first row. Just check it here. Go to storage and check that file. Go inside input. Let's open this cust.csv file and check what is your first row. See here, this is your first row, right? So first row is actually your header. So that's why what I am saying here, first row is header, first row as header. Please consider my first row as header. Okay, next, import schema. Schema is nothing but you are going to scan the data to identify the data type of each column. You know the data types, friends. So don't worry if you don't know data types, I will explain them later. But if you have all, like in this entire column is having numbers, that particular column is considered as an integer data type. If we have any column with only names, that column is considered as a string. Now you see only numbers or names, meaning total you have 3 integer columns, 1 string column. Okay, we need to remember that. So that's why I'm saying please import the schema. It is going to get the data types of all the columns in this particular file. In this file we have a 4 columns. For each column what is the data type it will get. If you say none, it is not going to import the schema. It is not going to scan your data. Okay. For now just say import schema, click OK. So this is what, friends, this is my first data set I have created, ds underscore abs underscore cust underscore source. So now this data, see, I am reading this data from the input container. I want to load this data into output container. For that, click new data set. This data I want to load it into same storage, select blob storage. So how do you want to load? you no need to load data exactly as a CSV. You can convert the CSV into JSON also. Okay, for today, as we have not discussed about JSON file structure, let's go with CSV. Click continue. This is going to be data set. Okay, Azure Blob Storage, Azure Blob Storage underscore customer data. This is, I am moving to the sync. This is my sync data. Again, if you want to load data into your storage, you need to provide the linked service connection. I provided the connection. Now you can browse the storage. You see, this is the output. So from this container, I'm reading data by using this data set. I'm creating a new data set which will reference to output container. See, this is a referencing to output container. So do you want to write data as headers? Okay, do you want to get the headers? Then you have to say first as header. Okay, if you want to write with headers, you are saying please consider while reading, please consider first is header. Okay, it will read the data. But do you want to consider your first is header while writing? Yes. If you check it, it will write your first as header. Okay, I will show you without checking this option how it will be. Next, import schema. As you don't have any data, you try to import schema, but you cannot get anything because you don't have any data if you import schema. So that's why you can go with none. Yeah, but still you can go with from connection store. Okay, no issue. Click OK. Now you see I have created a 2 data sets. Okay, now I need to, where I can see the activities. Remember, if you want to see the activities, first thing, important thing is you need to create a pipeline. How to create pipeline? Select this, click pipeline. Okay, so in this pipeline you need to give the pipeline name. What is the pipeline name? You will give PL underscore data movement. So I will give my pipeline name as data. So I am moving data from ds underscore abs underscore first sync to same data set underscore ds underscore abs underscore is a first underscore sync. Sorry, source to sync. This name should be source. Okay, you can use something like this. You can use normal characters you can use, or you can use a capital letter. You no need to use everything is capital letter. Okay, you can use a normal characters as well. It's a little bit slow. Okay, you can say PL underscore data. So till here you use the capital, then you can use small. Okay, ds underscore abs underscore first underscore source to, I want to move data from ds underscore abs. I'm just trying to use the same names, abs underscore first underscore. Okay, so this is the name of my pipeline. See, this is my name of pipeline. You can create a pipeline inside folders as well. You can create the, oh sorry, not here. I think you can create here. You see, create a new folder. You can create a folder, inside folder you can put the pipelines. Okay, so those things we'll discuss. But this is my first pipeline. So once you create a pipeline, you see all the activity list. So we are going to discuss about all these things, but today we will focus only on the move and the transform activities. In this move activity, we are going to use a copy activity just to drag this copy activity here. Okay, now in this, what is your source? So you need to change your copy activity name. So what you need to do, you just say copy underscore. Okay, you can say here also ds abs first sync to, you are moving data from ds abs first sync, sorry, from source to sync. Why I'm using sync starting. should be source. Okay, so this is my copy activity name. You can use the copy activity name, something like that. Now what you need to come to source. See here, general activity. Suppose sometimes what happens, you are trying to load huge amount of data. Now when you are loading data, you may have some idea, right? There are some pipelines which you are going to run every day. So before you run second day pipeline, meaning next day pipeline, you need to make sure that your first day pipeline should complete. If it is not completed, then you need to like raise some exception, or you need to fail the pipeline automatically. How you can fail the pipeline automatically? If the copy activity is not finished within the limited time, you have some time. This particular copy activity should finish within the 4 hours. Otherwise, I have some problem. So I need to take care of this copy activity. Somehow I need to check why it is not completed within 4 hours. Okay. Then what you need to do, you need to set something called timeout interval here. Okay. If I say here 7, what is this 7? 7 days. Okay, this particular copy activity will run, see here, maximum amount of time in an activity can run default is 7 days. Okay, 7 means 7 days. I want to set it to 24 hours. I will try to run my pipeline for 24 hours. And if it is not completed within 24 hours, then I want to throw a timeout error. Okay, then you can set something like this. Something failed by default, something failed. I want to rerun this particular copy activity. Then how many times you want to rerun? Okay, what is the time interval? Suppose if copy activity failed now, I want to rerun it again within the 30 seconds, meaning it failed now, wait 30 seconds, run again. If it is failed again, wait 30 seconds, run again. So again, you will not wait, because only retry option is for retrying only 2 times. It will retry only 2 times. Okay, if you want to secure output, okay, then you can put secure input and output. This is basically to securely copy your data. Okay, next thing, come to source. Here you need to select what is your source, from where to where you are trying to move data. From my source data set, from this data set, I want to move data into my target. My target is sync, this one. Okay, next. So you are moving data as a .csv file. Extension must be .csv. You have to edit this. Extension should be .csv. Okay, my file extension must be .csv. Okay, max row per file, how many rows you want to accept per file, and the block size, all these things you can able to, we will see everything in the upcoming sessions, but today I will go with normal default values, everything. When you have multiple files, you can just select a recursive everything, but we have single file. Today we are copying single file, that's why I just selected my source data set and sync data set mapping. So if you have any mapping import schema, you can able to map it. Okay, what is your source column name? Source column name is player ID. What is my sync column? My target column is player ID. So whether data is coming correctly or not, player name is going to player name, player highest score is going to player highest score. So you can check all these things. Okay, if you want. Next, settings, if you want to increase any performance. Okay, parallelism, if you want to increase, you can just say I want to use more parallelism. These are the degree of copy parallelism. If you increase, you can able to copy the data much more quicker. Okay, fine. Next, user properties. This is nothing but just click auto generate. It will tell you from where to where you are moving the data. So I am moving data from a custom.csv file, which is there in the input container. This data I am moving into the output container. Okay, user properties will automatically generate from where to where you are moving the data. Okay, we are clear, right? Now, what I want to do, I want to run this particular pipeline. Okay, so as I said, you can run this particular pipeline in 2 ways. One is add trigger now, or you can create a trigger. This is all about your trigger. This is about your debug. We talked about debug. Debug, you can debug will execute our pipeline without publish. See, we have not published. It is saying three different tasks that you need to publish. See, number 3, publish all 3 things which you have made changes. So 2 data sets, 1 pipeline. So total 3 changes you can publish. Now, I don't want to publish, but I want to execute a pipeline. For that, you have an option called debug block. You see, it is working. Okay, format you need to take care, but I have done even mentioning the time, just only that syntax. So we need to check it once again. Okay, don't worry. Now you see this copy activity, a debug mode is succeeded. Once debug mode is succeeded, what it means is it will load your file into output container. See here, custom.csv file came. Custom.csv file came into the output container. Let's delete this. I deleted the file from output container. Come back to your copy activity. Let's publish everything. Publish all. Click publish. Okay. See, this is the debug. So in this debug also you can monitor all the details. Just click on details tab here to see all the details in detail. You can see files read is 1, files written is 1. Okay. Only one connection it has used, but you can use the multiple connections to copy data quickly. And how many records you have in that file? 5 records you have in that file. So it read 5 records and it has written 5 records. And how much time it took to copy data? Just 3 seconds. What is the status of this particular run? Succeeded. What is the run ID? So whenever you debug or execute a pipeline, it will create a unique run ID. So it will create a unique ID. That is nothing but a run ID. You can take that. Okay. See, it is completed. Now publishing also completed. Now I want to run the pipeline. Add trigger now, and click OK. I just clicked OK. So where I can monitor pipeline is you need to go to monitor tab. Click on monitor. Okay, go to pipeline runs. Here you need to be pipeline runs. See, your pipeline is succeeded already. It is succeeded. Just click on this. This is a pipeline. In a pipeline, you can have multiple activities. It will show activity. Here you see activity. Only one activity. That is the copy activity. You can see copy. Just click on this to see. Here see file read is 1, file written is 1, records read is 5, records written is 5. All these details we have. Next, you can click on user properties to see from where to where you move the file. So from input container, custom CSV move to the output container. Okay, so this is clear. So this is how you need to monitor the pipeline. If at all any error occurred, you will have a error tab here. Let me just show you. Okay, here error option will be there. Here you will have a same kind of a one option. Just if you click on that, it will show that error option. Okay, so we will see like failure scenarios, all those things we will see. But this is how you need to copy the data from blob to blob. Okay. Any questions, friends? Any questions for today? So private only, Manohar. We will use the private access only. We won't tell a public. Okay. Okay. So
Malaya,
yeah, 1 second. Manohar has asked already. How to see data if the data is more than 1 GB in blob? So for that, we are going to create something called external tables in data warehouse. So that part we will cover. So by using those external tables, you can able to read the data. Yeah, you can ask other questions.
So for the first tab which you have opened in the portal, so is that going to be where we have created the containers? It is blob, right? The first tab.
This
no, not the Chrome tab. The Chrome tab.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this is like the where you have created like the containers first initially.
Yes.
Put on.
This is a storage where we have created containers. Correct.
Okay. So container is inside the blob storage, right?
Yes, inside the blob storage we have a container.
So container is we have created the container in the ADF, right? Or blob.
So don't confuse containers available in your storage account.
Okay.
PDF we are using to move the data between the containers in today's session, but in coming sessions we will see how to move data between the data stores. Okay, how you can like move data between the blob storage and the databases, data warehouse, all those things.
Yeah.
No difference, Parmesh. The main problem, what happens is in real time, if you keep on publishing for each and every change, developer has to wait at least 1 minute to publish, right? So just to save that particular time, we have a debug option. Immediately you make the change, you can debug to test whether it's working or not. So let's say you just forgot to give some kind of a name instead of giving, let's say underscore, I just give an hyphen. So it's something wrong. I changed it and again I need to publish it. It will take more time if you keep on changing and publishing to run a pipeline. That's why we have a debug option. Okay, see now, if you click on this option is available, right? But if you like, again, let's say if I debug, what will happen, you see. So this is new details, okay? This is a like a new run, but where is your previous history? So previous debug history is not available. Let's go to monitor tab. Okay, in this monitor tab, you see these are trigger runs. In debug, you see, yeah. So debug details also. Now, as I said, right? So they are adding this option. So they add in, now you can able to see the debug history as well. Okay, if you debug something, debug history also you are able to see now. So only the difference is without publishing your changes, you can able to run your pipeline in a debug mode. And the second thing is you can create the breakpoint when you want to test the pipeline. So same break